Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Today we have what I like to call tidbits for the Andor series, various little nuggets of news, and we begin with Genevieve O'Reilly, who in a new interview was asked about the differences between Mon Mothma and Rogue One and what she's going to be like in Andor. Her response, as you might expect, was that across a long-form series of 12 episodes a season, you get to explore the character in so much more depth. She also teases that many questions about the character that even she had going into the show are going to be answered. She went on to say that in Rogue One, she's already the leader of the rebellion, but in the Andor series, she begins steeped in the elite world of the Empire. In the show, we're going to see that evolution, and also her being kicked off the Galactic Senate, which is when she joins the early rebellion. Now, interestingly enough, she name drops Palpatine specifically, and Genevieve is not the only actor who explicitly mentioned him. And while it is true that Palpatine is the Emperor, the big villain of the galaxy, it's interesting that instead of saying just the Empire more broadly, a lot of actors are mentioning him by name. And this makes me wonder if the rumours of Palpatine appearing are true. That would be insane, and I know a lot of Star Wars fans are hoping he does. Now, staying on the subject of Andor, there is a new interview with Tony Gilroy, wherein he's asked about the possibility of expanding the stories of other Rogue One characters, just as they're doing with Cassian, but maybe in another spin-off. He loved the idea and did not rule anything out. He says this show opens up the lane to doing anything with any character, so a definite maybe. He also teases in this new interview that Andor contains both new characters, but also a few legacy ones too. His biggest excitement though is for fans to see a new side to the Star Wars universe, or as he put it, if Star Wars is a restaurant, we're taking you into the kitchen. In other words, we always see the final product, we often see the more polished side of this conflict, but this show is not afraid to give us the gritty dark truth that is the underbelly of this fight, showing us everyday people on both sides of it. And so now, my dear friends, just a quick look at some official new artwork and some new posters for Andor. Some of these are really incredible. We have Cassian himself, we get a new look at Bix, which is Adria Arjona's character, and of course B2EMO. I love the use of reds and blacks, it kind of has a James Bond feel to it. It makes the show believable as a spy thriller. And something I always find really interesting is that they were able to create a 24 episode show out of one character who didn't have much backstory from a spin-off movie. That being said, Andor is one of the most key figures in the rebellion, and as one early reviewer put it, even though the show is called Andor, it focuses on multiple revolutionary figures, so not just Cassian, even though he is ultimately the protagonist of this show. And so now, my dear Meglorians, the upcoming issue of SFX magazine has a dedicated section to the Rogue One spin-off series. I was able to have a look at it, and I want to share with you some key details. So they say the following: right from its inception, Rogue One was billed as a standalone story. Killing off 95% of the characters will do that. Even so, even from the earliest stages of development, there were always conversations about Cassian and what he might have gotten up to before sacrificing himself. And here we have a quote from Tony Gilroy. He says, "Even while we were making Rogue One, I remember Kathleen Kennedy saying, what else could we do with these characters?" Tony recalls saying the exact words that Kathleen Kennedy wanted to hear. He remembers saying he had a largely radical and insane idea. He said he was not interested in lightsabers and Jedi mind tricks, and more concerned with creating a grounded, complex espionage thriller that just happens to be set in the galaxy far, far away, and this was precisely the kind of series that Kathleen Kennedy wanted. The cast go even further, with Genevieve O'Reilly saying, "This is very much a spy thriller. Each of the Star Wars live-action shows has its own identity. Ours is gritty and messy. There are so many threads here, lots of intellectual and political intrigue. In this show, no one is quite who they seem," and they cite Skarsgård's character as an example, the enigmatic Luthen Rael, who comes to Cassian with a job offer, before revealing intimate knowledge about our hero's past. Strap in for secrets, lies, double dealing, and dirty work. Gilroy says, "We're in the back room for this show. The people in this saga are the gravel that the road to the rebellion is built on." So a big tease here that Luthen Rael, Skarsgård's character, is not going to be all he seems. He comes across as a hero, but he also has ulterior motives. Now, speaking about this difference between light and dark, they say in the Star Wars universe, good and bad are clearly defined. In The Force Awakens, John Boyega's Finn is asked why he crosses from the dark side to the light, and he simply states, because it's the right thing to do. And part of what made Rogue One stand out within the franchise was that the right thing to do was more nebulous as a concept. In that film, good people did bad things, but as Cassian Andor's opening scene illustrates, the line between heroes and villains was blurrier than usual for a Lucasfilm project. Andor aims to blur declare it even further. Sometimes our heroes have to do horrible things in the name of the ultimate good. Cassian's first moment in Rogue One is morally compromised. That's what makes him fascinating, but very few fans know that at one stage he was a killer. Gilroy says he's fluid, he's seductive, he's manipulative. How did he get like that? That was the interesting thing with going back 5 years before the film. How big of a hole can we put this guy in, and what would he have to do to crawl out? And they say if this setup sounds eerily similar to the Book of Boba Fett, it should be pointed out that crawling out of a hole is not a metaphor for the Sarlacc pit. The series opens with Cassian on Ferrix, where our protagonist is living a solitary existence as a lowly street thief, albeit one that bears an uncanny resemblance to Paul McCartney during the Get Back era. Of course, just a joke. But they say Andor's contempt for the Empire is already strong, but he is a long way from the fanatically dedicated rebel leader that we see in Rogue One. He's self-interested, borderline nihilistic. Luna says at this point, he doesn't even know he's capable of what he's gonna do in Rogue One. He says, in the film, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, so what could happen to a 6-year-old child to be involved in something like that? There's an interesting complexity to the character, tons of contradictions. Luna goes on to say you can't say these characters are good or bad, they're more complex. They're just people surviving. Everyone has a dark area, and Tony loves to explore that. He says in this show, even the droids have two sides to them. And for Fiona Shaw, who's playing Cassian's adoptive mother Marva, the complexity of the themes was part of the attraction. She repeats the line from Empire magazine that she was attracted to Tony Gilroy's social realistic intentions. He's created a whole new morality, it's very deep and humane. Honestly, there is so much insight in this issue of SFX. I'm really impressed that Lucasfilm greenlit such a project that actually takes risks, whether it's with the political subtext or radically changing our understanding of this galaxy. I'm really hyped to see what this show has to offer. Super exciting stuff, guys. And so finally, an old article that's re-emerged as we get closer to the Andor show. I'd completely forgotten about this, I didn't cover it at the time, but with just over a month and a bit to go, I thought why not cover it today. So in case you don't know, Diego Luna is obsessed with Jabba the Hutt, literally. The absolutely hilarious title of this article is Diego Luna is haunted by his thirst for Jabba the Hutt. He revealed his love for the character on Jamie Fallon a couple of years ago, and admitted he has a morbid curiosity for touching Jabba the Hutt's skin. He said he always wanted to feel that texture when he watched Return of the Jedi. And the reason I bring it up is that Diego Luna said if he ever returned to Star Wars, he'd want Jabba to be in it as well. Now I'm wondering, could he have convinced Tony Gilroy to have a Jabba the Hutt cameo? I personally doubt we'll see him. I don't think we're going to Tatooine in this show, but you never know. Diego could be convincing. I just thought this was really funny and I wanted to share it with you. But with that said, my dear friends, that brings us to the end of today's Star Wars news update. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, share your thoughts down below, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a good one.